What do we mean by the term racial equity? Racial equity is the means by which we hope to get to racial justice. Racial equity takes into account historical context and the continuing disparate impact of those who have been identified as Black, Indigenous people of color, or BIPOC. Let's start with defining race to help establish a basic understanding of a long-standing history of injustice that exists. Race is a made-up social construct and not an actual biological fact. Race designations have changed over time. Some groups that are considered white in the United States today were considered non-white in previous eras. On a list compiled by Dr. Amy Breeze Harper, race is defined as a social construct with no biological validity that divides people into distinct groups by categorizing them based on arbitrary elements of physical appearance, particularly skin color. Now let's look at a popular term often associated with racial equity. DEI, or Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, also known as EDI, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. Let's break down the definition of each term and consider how the terms relate to racial justice. Diversity is a quantitative measure of who is represented and can account for a wide range of differences, including social identity, which may or may not account for racial identity. Inclusion is a qualitative measure of perceptions of how welcoming a group is or isn't. The important thing to understand is that although these two principles are necessary for equity, each individually is not enough. Equity, not to be confused with equality, is an approach that acknowledges not everyone has access to the same resources. Therefore, fairness is not necessarily tied to everyone getting the exact same thing.